Long ago, in an era when gods still walked the earth, and the boundaries between realms were thin, there lived a young princess named Nua. She was not the creator goddess of the same name, but the beloved daughter of Yandi, the Flame Emperor, who ruled over the southern lands with wisdom and fire. Nua was a child of sunlight and spirit, possessing a heart as vast as the plains and a curiosity that often led her far beyond the palace gates. Her father loved her more than the sun loved the day, yet his duties as a divine ruler often kept him tethered to the burning throne of the south. Among all the wonders of the mortal world, Nua was most captivated by the horizon, specifically where the land met the East Sea. To her, the East Sea was a shimmering mystery, a turquoise expanse that whispered secrets of hidden kingdoms and ancient spirits beneath its waves. One morning, driven by a longing she could not name, Nua decided to venture toward the water alone, seeking to witness the sunrise from the very edge of the world. She rowed a small, fragile boat into the vast blue, unaware that the East Sea was a temperamental entity governed by its own prideful spirits. As she drifted further from the shore, the sky began to bruise with shades of deep purple and violent gray, signaling a change in the wind. The waves, which had been gentle as a lullaby, suddenly rose like jagged mountain peaks, hungry and cold. The East Sea was not a place for mortals, even those of divine blood, and its currents resented the intrusion of a wandering girl. A massive swell, darker than the deepest abyss, rose above her tiny vessel, blocking out the sun and the hope of return. With a deafening roar, the water crashed down, shattering the boat and pulling the screaming princess into the freezing darkness. Nua fought against the weight of the ocean, her lungs burning for the air of her father's gardens, but the sea was a relentless jailer. In those final moments of struggle, her terror transformed into a burning, white-hot resentment against the injustice of the water. Her physical body sank into the silence of the deep, but her spirit refused to vanish into the void of the afterlife. The intensity of her will and the purity of her grief triggered a supernatural metamorphosis within the heart of the storm. From the swirling foam and the dying echo of her last breath, a bird emerged, bursting toward the sky with a defiant cry. This bird was unlike any creature seen in the heavens. Her feathers were patterned with intricate designs, her head was colorful, and her beak was white as bone. She was no longer Nua, the princess of fire, but Jingwei, the spirit of the unfinished path. As she took flight, she let out a piercing sound that echoed her new name, Jingwei, Jingwei. She flew back to the mountains of the north, her heart heavy with the memory of the cold water that had stolen her life. Standing upon the jagged cliffs of Mount Faju, she looked back at the East Sea, which now lay calm and deceptive under the morning light. She realized that she was now a supernatural entity, a ghost of the air caught between the world of the living and the realm of the eternal. But Jingwei did not seek rest. She sought a reckoning with the titan that had drowned her. In her mind, the East Sea was a monster that would continue to swallow the innocent unless it was stopped. She picked up a small pebble from the mountainside with her beak, its weight a promise of things to come. With steady wings, she flew across the long distance back to the East Sea and dropped the stone into the water plop. The tiny sound was instantly swallowed by the vastness of the tides, a meaningless gesture to any observer. But to Jingwei, it was the first blow in a war that would span across the centuries. She returned to the mountain, picked up a twig, flew back, and dropped it into the same spot. "What are you doing, little bird?" The spirit of the East Sea eventually rose from the waves, mocking her with a voice like crashing surf. Jingwei hovered above the crests, her eyes burning with a divine light that transcended her small form. "I am going to fill you up," she chirped, her voice ringing clear despite the wind. "I will turn your depths into dry land so you can never drown another soul." The sea laughed, a sound that shook the very foundations of the earth and sent spray high into the clouds. "You are but a speck of dust against my infinity," the sea roared. "Even in 1,000,000 years you will not make a dent in my majesty." Jingwei did not flinch. She simply turned back toward the mountains to gather another stone. "Then I shall take 10,000,000 years," she replied, "and if that is not enough, I shall take eternity itself, day after day." The bird made the journey, never stopping to play with the other birds or to seek the comforts of the forest. Her legend began to spread among the deities and the spirits that inhabited the peaks and the clouds. Some called her a fool, a tragic ghost trapped in a cycle of impossible labor. Others saw in her the ultimate expression of the human spirit, the refusal to accept defeat even in the face of the cosmic. Her father, the Flame Emperor, eventually found her, his heart breaking to see his daughter in such a form. He tried to call her back to the celestial halls, promising her a place of honor among the stars. Jingwei paused only for a moment, looking at her father with eyes that held the wisdom of the dead and the fire of the living. "Father, the sea took my life, but it cannot take my purpose," she told him before taking flight once more. The emperor wept, realizing that his daughter had become something far greater and more terrifying than a mere princess. She had become a symbol of persistence, a supernatural force that ignored the laws of probability. As the seasons turned into years and years into decades, the pile of stones at the bottom of the sea began to grow, though invisible to the eye. Other spirits began to take notice, moved by the sheer monotony and beauty of her devotion. Some mountain spirits began to push pebbles closer to the shore, easing her journey just a little. The winds sometimes blew at her back, carrying her tired wings across the treacherous stretches of the ocean. Yet the East Sea remained vast, a reminder of the overwhelming odds she faced every single morning. There were nights when the storms were so fierce that Jingwei was nearly blown off course, her small body battered by the rain. During these moments, the ghost of her former self would whisper of the warmth of the palace and the softness of silk. But the spirit of the bird would scream back, drowning out the weakness with the memory of the cold, dark water. She became a bridge between the mortal world's limitations and the divine world's endurance. In the villages along the coast, parents began to tell the story of the bird who tried to fill the sea to their children. They taught them that no task is too great if one has the heart to carry a single stone at a time. Jingwei's name became a synonym for determination, etched into the very language of the people. The East Sea grew frustrated, its waves lashing out at the bird with increasing violence, yet she always returned. "Why do you persist?" The sea demanded one day, its voice tired of the endless fluttering of wings. "Because the land remembers," Jingwei replied, dropping a piece of red clay into the blue. I am a ghost of what was lost, and I am the architect of what will be," she continued. Her feathers grew gray with the salt and the sun, but her spirit remained as vibrant as the day she was reborn. She saw civilizations rise and fall on the shores she watched over, seeing humans build and destroy with the same fervor. She felt a kinship with them, for they too were small creatures trying to make their mark on a world that seemed indifferent. Sometimes she would encounter other tricksters and spirits who tried to lure her away from her path. A fox spirit once promised her a way to regain her human form if she would only stop her labor. Jingwei looked at the fox and said, "What use is a human body if it lacks the strength to finish what it started?" She flew on, her white beak shining like a beacon against the darkening sky. The story of Jingwei reached the ears of the Jade Emperor in the highest heaven. He looked down and saw the tiny bird, a flickering spark of will against the shadow of the East Sea. He did not intervene, for he understood that the power of the legend lay in its struggle, not its completion. To grant her success by divine decree would be to rob her of her victory. And so, Jingwei continued, her life a rhythmic dance of flight and fall, of mountain and salt. Even today, if you stand on the cliffs of the East China Sea and listen closely to the wind, you might hear it. It is a sharp, repetitive cry that cuts through the roar of the waves. Jingwei, Jingwei. It is the sound of a promise that has never been broken, a ghost that refuses to move on until the job is done. She is the patron of the stubborn, the light for those who are told their dreams are too big for their hands. The pebbles she has dropped over thousands of years are said to have formed hidden reefs that protect the coast from the worst of the storms. Her revenge was not one of blood or fire, but of transformation, turning a site of tragedy into a monument of will. The East Sea still remains, but it is no longer the undisputed master of the horizon. It must share the space with the memory of a girl who refused to stay drowned. Jingwei teaches us that the supernatural is not just about magic or monsters, but about the elevation of the soul. When a spirit is focused with enough intensity, it becomes a law of nature itself. Her story is a reminder that we all have an East Sea in our lives, a challenge that seems too large to overcome, We are all, at some point, a small bird holding a single stone in our beak, looking at a vast ocean. The fear of failure is natural, but the act of flying is where the divinity resides. Every stone dropped is a victory, regardless of whether the sea is filled today or in a millennium. Jingwei's wings may be tired, but they never falter, for they are powered by an ancient, holy fire. She remains the guardian of the unfinished, the spirit of the eternal yet. In the tapestry of Asian mythology, her thread is one of the brightest, woven with salt, stone, and sacrifice. As long as there is water that seeks to overwhelm, there will be a bird that seeks to reclaim. Her journey is the journey of every hero who has ever dared to look at the impossible and say, "I will begin." So let us remember the name Nuwa and the bird she became to save us from the depths. Carry your stones with pride, and never let the size of the ocean discourage the strength of your wings. This has been the legend of Jingwei, the bird who tried to fill the sea, a story that will live as long as the tides turn. Don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe to channel Storycraft Studio for more incredible legends from around the world.